The insistent rhythm of gospel music vibrated through the floorboards of Eleanor Vance's meticulously maintained Victorian home. It wasn't the music itself that grated on her nerves, though the enthusiastic fervor of the singers did little to soothe her already frayed disposition. It was the sheer volume, the unwavering, joyful cacophony that seemed to invade every corner of her carefully curated world. This particular Sunday, the volume was amplified tenfold, a throbbing pulse that resonated with the rhythmic thump-thump-thump of countless feet. It was the annual food drive at Abundant Life Church, an event that, in Eleanor's opinion, had long overstayed its welcome. For years, Eleanor had tolerated the occasional Sunday service, the gentle hum of hymns a far cry from the boisterous energy emanating from the church today. But the food drive was different. It transformed the quiet, tree-lined street into a bustling marketplace, a vibrant hub of activity that clashed violently with Eleanor's preferred state of serene tranquility. Cars clogged the narrow streets, their horns occasionally blaring in frustration. People milled about, their laughter and conversations echoing through the neighborhood, a stark contrast to the hushed whispers and polite conversations she valued. Eleanor peered through her lace-curtained window, her lips pressed into a thin, disapproving line. Below, a line of people snaked around the corner, patiently waiting their turn to receive bags of groceries. She watched with a simmering resentment as children chased each other, their joyous shrieks piercing the air. The scene was a chaotic ballet of humanity, a vibrant tapestry of life that Eleanor found utterly disruptive. The noise wasn't just a nuisance. It was an affront to her carefully constructed life. Eleanor Vance valued order, quietude, and the predictable rhythm of her daily routine. She lived in a neighborhood where such things were highly prized, a neighborhood where the rustling of leaves was considered a significant disturbance. The church, with its vibrant, boisterous congregation, was an unwelcome intrusion, a discordant note in an otherwise harmonious symphony. This year, however, the noise had reached a breaking point. The relentless rhythm of the gospel music, the constant chatter, and the sheer volume of people had pushed her over the edge. She had tried ignoring it, attempting to drown it out with classical music, but the insistent beat of the drums and the passionate singing had proved too powerful. She tried closing the windows, but the vibrations still managed to penetrate the thick glass, a constant reminder of the chaos unfolding just beyond her doorstep. Enough was enough. She picked up her phone, her fingers trembling slightly with a mixture of anger and determination. She knew exactly what she had to do. She would file a formal complaint. She dialed the city's non-emergency line, her voice tight with controlled fury as she explained her situation. She meticulously detailed the disruption caused by the church's food drive, emphasizing the excessive noise levels, the traffic congestion, and the general disruption to the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. She spoke of the incessant drumming, the boisterous singing, the constant flow of people, painting a picture of utter chaos. She carefully avoided mentioning the race of the churchgoers, focusing instead on the perceived disruption of her personal peace. Yet her underlying resentment was palpable. The city official on the other end of the line listened patiently, taking notes as Eleanor eloquently described her grievances. She spoke of the disruption to her sleep, her inability to concentrate, and the general deterioration of her quality of life. She mentioned the impact on property values, the potential for increased crime, and the overall negative effect on the neighborhood's character. She painted a picture of a once peaceful sanctuary, now overrun by a relentless tide of noise and activity. She ended her call with a clear demand for action, a request for the city to intervene and put a stop to the church's incessant disruptions. As she hung up, Eleanor felt a strange sense of satisfaction. She had taken action. She had made her voice heard. She had filed a formal complaint, a meticulously crafted document that detailed her grievances and demanded resolution. She felt a sense of righteous indignation, a feeling that she had finally done something to restore order to her life, to reclaim the peace and quiet that had been so rudely disrupted. She told herself, done what was necessary. The thought, however, left a bitter taste in her mouth, a taste she couldn't quite identify. The Abundant Life Church wasn't just a building. It was a vibrant, pulsating heart within the community. Nestled on a quiet street, a stone's throw from Eleanor Vance's meticulously kept Victorian home, it stood as a beacon of hope and generosity, a testament to the unwavering faith and community spirit of its congregation. Every Sunday, and especially during the annual food drive, the church overflowed with warmth, laughter, and the infectious energy of people united by a shared purpose. Pastor Samuel Johnson, a man whose smile could melt glaciers and whose booming laugh could fill a stadium, was the spiritual leader and guiding force behind this extraordinary community. His sermons weren't dry recitations of Scripture. They were passionate calls to action, inspiring tales of faith and perseverance, delivered with a warmth and sincerity that resonated deeply with his congregation. He possessed a remarkable ability to connect with people from all walks of life, to see the inherent goodness in everyone, and to inspire them to reach their full potential. He wasn't just a pastor. He was a friend, a mentor, a father figure to many. The food drive, a cornerstone of the church's outreach program, was a testament to Pastor Johnson's vision. It wasn't just about distributing food. It was about building community, fostering relationships, and providing support to those in need. Volunteers, young and old, worked tirelessly, their hands moving with a practiced efficiency born from years of dedication. The air buzzed with a palpable sense of purpose, a collective energy that fueled their efforts. Inside the church hall, tables groaned under the weight of fresh produce, canned goods, and other staples. Bags of rice, beans, and pasta were neatly stacked, ready to be distributed. Volunteers carefully sorted through the donations, ensuring that each bag contained a balanced and nutritious selection of food. The air was thick with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the comforting scent of home-baked bread, a sensory experience that welcomed everyone who entered. Outside, the line of people waiting to receive food stretched around the corner, a testament to the church's impact on the community. There were families with young children, elderly individuals leaning on canes, and single parents juggling multiple responsibilities. They came from all walks of life, united by a shared need and a shared appreciation for the church's unwavering support. The atmosphere was far from the sterile, hushed reverence of some churches. It was alive with the sounds of laughter, conversation, and the occasional burst of gospel music that spilled out from the open doors. Children played tag amongst the parked cars, their shrieks of delight mingling with the murmur of conversations. Volunteers chatted with those in line, offering words of encouragement and sharing stories of faith and resilience. The food drive wasn't just a logistical operation. It was a celebration of community, a vibrant expression of faith in action. It was a place where people came together, not just to receive food, but to connect with one another, to find support, and to experience the warmth of human connection. It was a testament to the power of faith, the strength of community, and the unwavering commitment of Pastor Johnson and his congregation to serve those in need. The energy was infectious, a powerful wave of positivity that radiated outwards, touching everyone who came into contact with it. It was a stark contrast to the quiet, ordered world of Eleanor Vance, a world that valued silence and control over the vibrant chaos of community and shared generosity. Eleanor Vance's meticulously manicured lawn was a reflection of her personality, precise, controlled, and utterly devoid of anything that could be considered messy or unpredictable. Her Victorian home, a testament to her refined taste and unwavering commitment to order, stood as a sentinel against the encroaching vibrancy of the neighborhood. The Abundant Life Church, with its boisterous congregation and its annual food drive, was a constant source of irritation, a jarring discord in her carefully curated world. But her discomfort went far beyond mere noise pollution. It was rooted in a deeper, more insidious prejudice. Eleanor's upbringing had instilled in her a strong sense of social hierarchy. She had grown up in a world where certain neighborhoods were considered desirable, others less so. She had learned implicitly and explicitly that certain people belonged in certain places, and that deviating from that established order could lead to chaos and disorder. Her worldview was one of rigid boundaries and carefully defined social strata. The church, with its diverse congregation and its open embrace of people from all walks of life, was a direct challenge to that worldview. Her discomfort wasn't simply about the noise, it was about the people. The church's predominantly black congregation represented a demographic that Eleanor, consciously or unconsciously, perceived as different, as outside her social circle. Her upbringing had subtly conditioned her to view certain groups with suspicion, to associate them with disorder and a lack of refinement. These feelings, though unspoken and often unrecognized, fueled her resentment towards the church and its activities. Eleanor's worldview was shaped by years of living in predominantly white, affluent neighborhoods. Her social circles were composed of people who shared her values, her beliefs, and her sense of order. The church, with its vibrant, multicultural congregation, represented a stark contrast to that carefully constructed world. It was a constant reminder of the diversity and dynamism of the city, a reality that challenged her carefully constructed sense of social order. She often found herself making subtle judgments about the people who attended the church, categorizing them based on assumptions and stereotypes. She saw them as loud, unruly, and disruptive, oblivious to the impact their actions had on the surrounding community. She failed to recognize the genuine kindness, the unwavering faith, and the deep-seated community spirit that defined the church and its members. Her perception was clouded by her own biases, her own preconceived notions. Eleanor's resentment wasn't solely directed at the church. It extended to the entire neighborhood. She viewed the influx of people associated with the food drive as a threat to the established social order, a disruption to the carefully maintained equilibrium of her world. She resented the increased traffic, the overflowing parking spaces, and the general air of bustling activity that accompanied the annual event. She saw it as an invasion, an encroachment on her carefully guarded sense of peace and tranquility. This wasn't a sudden eruption of anger. It was a slow burn, a simmering resentment that had been building over years. Each annual food drive amplified her feelings, exacerbating her discomfort and reinforcing her prejudices. The noise was merely a symptom of a deeper malaise, a manifestation of her underlying discomfort with the changing demographics of her neighborhood and the challenge it posed to her carefully constructed worldview. The complaint she filed wasn't just about noise. It was a desperate attempt to maintain control, to preserve the order she valued above all else, even if it meant silencing a community that offered compassion and support to those in need. Her actions were a reflection of her deepest fears and insecurities, a desperate attempt to protect a world that was rapidly changing around her. News of Eleanor Vance's complaint spread through the Abundant Life Church like wildfire. It started with hushed whispers during the post-service coffee hour, a murmur that quickly escalated into a wave of disbelief and indignation. The initial reaction was a mixture of shock and hurt, a sense of betrayal that rippled through the congregation. Many felt personally targeted, their efforts to serve the community dismissed as a nuisance by a neighbor who clearly held them in contempt. Sister Mary, a longtime member and volunteer, her face etched with disappointment, voiced the sentiment of many. After all we do for this community, after all the love and effort we put into this food drive, to have someone complain like this, it's heartbreaking, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Her words echoed the feelings of many others who had dedicated countless hours to the church's outreach programs. Younger members, those who had grown up within the church's embrace, expressed anger and frustration. They felt a deep sense of injustice, a feeling that their good deeds had been unfairly criticized and dismissed. They questioned Eleanor Vance's motives, wondering what could possibly justify such a callous complaint. The sense of outrage was palpable, a simmering resentment that threatened to boil over. Amidst the rising tide of anger and disappointment, Pastor Samuel Johnson remained calm, his voice a steady anchor in the storm. He addressed the congregation, his words carefully chosen, his tone measured and reassuring. He acknowledged their hurt and frustration, validating their feelings without fueling the flames of resentment. He reminded them of the importance of their mission, of their commitment to serving the community, regardless of the challenges they faced. "My brothers and sisters," he began, his voice resonating with a quiet strength. "I understand your anger, your disappointment. This complaint is an affront to our work, a dismissal of the love and compassion we pour into this community. But let us not respond with anger, with bitterness. Let us not allow this incident to diminish the spirit of generosity and kindness that defines our church." Pastor Johnson's words were a balm to the wounded spirits of his congregation. His calm demeanor, his unwavering faith, and his appeal for a measured response helped to diffuse the tension, preventing the situation from escalating into a full-blown conflict. He reminded them of the teachings of Jesus, of the importance of forgiveness and understanding, even in the face of adversity. He proposed a plan of action, a strategy that focused on dialogue and understanding rather than confrontation and retaliation. He suggested writing a letter to Eleanor Vance, expressing their willingness to engage in a constructive conversation, to address her concerns, and find a mutually acceptable solution. He emphasized the importance of showing her the same compassion and understanding that they extended to everyone else. The congregation, initially hesitant, slowly began to accept Pastor Johnson's approach. They recognized the wisdom in his words, the importance of responding with grace and dignity. They understood that allowing anger and resentment to dictate their actions would only serve to perpetuate the cycle of negativity. They agreed to draft a letter that would express their disappointment, but also their willingness to engage in dialogue and find a peaceful resolution. The letter, carefully crafted and filled with genuine concern, was delivered to Eleanor Vance. It was a testament to the church's commitment to peacemaking, a demonstration of their unwavering faith in the power of forgiveness and understanding. It was a hopeful gesture, a sincere attempt to bridge the gap between two worlds, two perspectives that seemed irreconcilably different. The response, however, remained uncertain, hanging heavy in the air like a question mark. The seeds of conflict had been sown, and the future remained uncertain. The crisp autumn air held a biting chill that seeped into Eleanor Vance's bones, mirroring the icy dread that had settled in her heart. The meticulously organized chaos of her life, a carefully constructed balance of order and control, had been shattered. The meticulously planned meals, the carefully curated grocery lists, the unwavering sense of financial security, all of it had crumbled like a poorly constructed sandcastle before a relentless tide. Her husband, Richard, a successful lawyer, had received the devastating news earlier that week. His firm was downsizing, and he was among those being let go. The initial shock had given way to a numb acceptance, a quiet resignation that hung heavy in the air of their once vibrant home. The comfortable silence, once a source of contentment, now felt like a suffocating blanket, a stark contrast to the boisterous energy emanating from the Abundant Life Church just a few blocks away. Richard, a man who had always prided himself on his stability and his ability to provide for his family, now felt a crushing weight of responsibility. The carefully laid plans for their retirement, the dreams of leisurely travel and quiet evenings spent together, seemed to evaporate before his eyes. He tried to maintain a brave face, to reassure Eleanor and their children, but the anxiety gnawed at him, a relentless beast that threatened to consume him whole. Eleanor, accustomed to a life of comfort and predictability, struggled to cope with the sudden shift in their circumstances. The carefully planned budget, the meticulous tracking of expenses, the unwavering sense of financial security, all of it was gone, replaced by an overwhelming sense of uncertainty and fear. The meticulously organized pantry, once a source of pride, now felt mockingly empty, a stark reminder of their dwindling resources. The initial shock gave way to a desperate scramble to make ends meet. They cut back on expenses, eliminating luxuries and necessities alike. The weekly cleaning service was dismissed, the cable television disconnected, and the planned family vacation was canceled. Every penny was carefully accounted for, every purchase scrutinized, every decision weighed with an agonizing intensity. The children, initially oblivious to the gravity of the situation, began to notice the changes. The lack of their usual treats, the absence of their favorite activities, the strained conversations between their parents. All of it pointed to a shift in their comfortable reality. Their cheerful demeanor began to fade, replaced by a quiet apprehension that mirrored their parents' growing anxiety. The once organized home now reflected the turmoil within the family. Bills piled up on the kitchen counter. Unanswered letters lay scattered on the dining room table, and the once pristine surfaces were covered with a layer of dust and neglect. The carefully maintained facade of their perfect life had crumbled, revealing the underlying anxiety and uncertainty that had been simmering beneath the surface. The dwindling food supply became a constant source of stress. Eleanor, accustomed to carefully planned meals and a well-stocked pantry, now found herself rationing food, making difficult choices about what to eat and what to save for later. The once plentiful supply of groceries dwindled, leaving them with little more than a few staples and a growing sense of desperation. The vibrant, joyful sounds emanating from the Abundant Life Church, once a source of irritation, now felt like a distant siren song, a tempting promise of relief in their growing despair. The irony wasn't lost on Eleanor, but pride, stubbornness, and a deep-seated prejudice still held her back from seeking help from the very source she had so recently condemned. Pride, a formidable fortress built on years of self-reliance and a carefully cultivated image of success, prevented Eleanor Vance from seeking help. The thought of admitting her family's plight, of acknowledging their vulnerability, was utterly humiliating. She had always prided herself on her independence, her ability to manage her life with precision and control. The idea of relying on others, especially the very community she had so recently criticized, was unbearable. The initial shock of Richard's job loss had been followed by a period of denial, a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion of normalcy. She had meticulously planned meals, stretching their dwindling resources as far as possible. She had avoided looking at the dwindling balance in their bank account, refusing to acknowledge the growing reality of their financial crisis. She had maintained a brave face for her children, shielding them from the growing anxiety that gnawed at her insides. But the carefully constructed facade couldn't hold. The empty pantry, the increasingly strained conversations with Richard, the worried looks on her children's faces, all of it chipped away at her carefully constructed defenses. The pride that had once been her shield now felt like a suffocating weight, a heavy burden that threatened to crush her. Days turned into nights, each one marked by a growing sense of desperation. The children's quiet hunger, their increasingly subdued demeanor, were constant reminders of their plight. Eleanor found herself unable to sleep, her mind racing with anxieties about how to provide for her family. The once orderly rhythm of her life had been replaced by a chaotic jumble of worry and uncertainty. The shame was almost unbearable. She, Eleanor Vance, the epitome of self-sufficiency and control, had been reduced to this, a woman struggling to feed her family. The thought of seeking help, of admitting her failure, was deeply humiliating. It challenged her carefully constructed self-image, her sense of pride and accomplishment. She had always viewed herself as strong, independent, capable. Now, she felt weak, vulnerable, and utterly helpless. She spent hours staring out the window, watching the bustling activity at the Abundant Life Church. She saw the long line of people waiting to receive food, the volunteers working tirelessly, the expressions of gratitude on the faces of those who received assistance. The irony wasn't lost on her. She, the woman who had complained about the noise and disruption caused by the church's food drive, was now facing a crisis that could only be resolved by the very community she had criticized. The thought of approaching them, of swallowing her pride and asking for help, was agonizing. She imagined the expressions of surprise, the whispered comments, the potential for judgment and ridicule. The shame was a heavy cloak, suffocating her with its weight. She felt trapped, caught between her pride and her desperate need for assistance. Each passing day intensified her feelings of desperation and shame. The dwindling food supply, the mounting bills, the worried faces of her family, all of it fueled her internal conflict. She was torn between her desire to maintain her self-respect and her desperate need to provide for her family. The pride that had once been her strength now felt like a prison, trapping her in a cycle of humiliation and despair. The weight of her situation pressed down on her, threatening to crush her beneath its immense burden. The decision to seek help, to confront her pride and her prejudices, remained agonizingly out of reach. The final crumb of bread had vanished. The last can of soup had been consumed. The meticulously planned meals, the carefully rationed portions, had all been exhausted. Eleanor Vance stared into the empty pantry, the stark reality of her family's situation finally breaking through her wall of pride and denial. The shame was still there, a heavy cloak weighing down her spirit, but it was overshadowed by a more primal fear, the fear of her children going hungry. For days, she had wrestled with her internal conflict, battling the humiliation of admitting her failure and the prejudice that had blinded her to the compassion of the Abundant Life Church. She had replayed the scene countless times in her mind, imagining the reactions of the church members, anticipating their judgment and ridicule. But the gnawing hunger of her children, their increasingly worried faces, had finally overcome her resistance. The decision to seek help was agonizing, a surrender that felt like a betrayal of her own self-image. She had always prided herself on her independence, her ability to manage her life with precision and control. Asking for help, especially from the community she had so recently criticized, felt like a profound defeat. But the alternative, watching her children go hungry, was unthinkable. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Eleanor prepared herself to face the church community. She chose a simple outfit, avoiding anything that might draw attention to herself. She carefully combed her hair, attempting to regain a semblance of composure. She rehearsed what she would say, trying to formulate words that would convey her desperation without revealing the full extent of her shame. The walk to the church felt like an eternity. Each step was a struggle, a battle against her own internal resistance. She passed the familiar houses, the well-kept lawns, the quiet streets, all reminders of the world she had carefully constructed, a world that now seemed impossibly distant. The church, once a symbol of disruption and annoyance, now represented her only hope. As she approached the church, the familiar sounds of gospel music and laughter washed over her. The vibrant energy, once a source of irritation, now felt like a beacon of warmth and hope. She hesitated at the entrance, her hand hovering over the door handle, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever might come. Inside, the church hall was bustling with activity. Volunteers moved with practiced efficiency, sorting food and preparing bags for distribution. The air was filled with the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee and home-baked bread. Eleanor felt a wave of anxiety wash over her, but she pressed on, her eyes scanning the room for Pastor Johnson. She spotted him near the entrance, his warm smile instantly calming her nerves. He greeted her with a gentle kindness that surprised her, a compassion that seemed to penetrate her carefully constructed defenses. She stammered out her request, her voice barely a whisper, her words choked with emotion. She explained her situation, her voice trembling, her eyes welling up with tears. She confessed her past actions, her prejudice, her judgment. Pastor Johnson listened patiently, his expression one of understanding and empathy. He offered her words of comfort, assuring her that the church was there to help, regardless of her past actions. He didn't judge her, didn't condemn her. He simply offered assistance, a lifeline in her moment of desperation. He led her to a table where volunteers were preparing food bags, and without a word of judgment, he ensured she received enough food for her family. The weight of her pride, her shame, her prejudice began to lift, replaced by a glimmer of hope, a fragile sense of acceptance. The journey to reconciliation had begun. The initial shock of Eleanor's request quickly gave way to a wave of compassion within the Abundant Life Church. Despite knowing about her complaint, despite the hurt and frustration her actions had caused, the congregation responded with an outpouring of kindness and understanding. The news of Eleanor's desperate situation spread quickly, a silent acknowledgement of the irony of the situation. The woman who had tried to silence their food drive was now seeking the very help it provided. Pastor Johnson, ever the embodiment of Christian forgiveness, led the response. He quietly instructed the volunteers to prepare a generous supply of food for Eleanor's family, ensuring they received more than enough to tide them over. He emphasized the importance of treating Eleanor with the same compassion and understanding they extended to everyone else, regardless of her past actions. Sister Mary, whose disappointment had been palpable just days earlier, was among the first to offer assistance. She approached Eleanor with a warm smile, offering words of comfort and support. She helped Eleanor fill the bags with food, her hands moving with a practiced efficiency, her demeanor radiating kindness and understanding. She didn't mention the complaint, didn't bring up the past. She simply offered help, a silent testament to the church's commitment to compassion. Other members of the congregation followed suit. Young volunteers, who had initially expressed anger at Eleanor's complaint, now offered their assistance with a quiet grace. They helped her carry the bags of groceries to her car, their actions speaking louder than any words. They didn't judge her, didn't condemn her. They simply offered help, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the strength of their community spirit. As Eleanor loaded the groceries into her car, she noticed a young girl, no older than 10, approaching her with a hesitant smile. The girl, one of the many children who regularly participated in the church's activities, offered Eleanor a small, home-baked cookie. The simple gesture, devoid of any judgment or resentment, touched Eleanor deeply. It was a small act of kindness, a symbol of the compassion that permeated the church community. The unexpected kindness of the church members was a profound experience for Eleanor. It challenged her preconceived notions, shattering the stereotypes she had held about the congregation. She had expected judgment, ridicule, perhaps even anger. Instead, she received compassion, understanding, and unwavering support. The contrast was striking, a stark contrast to the cold, calculating judgment she had expected. The food was more than just sustenance. It was a symbol of hope, a tangible expression of the church's unwavering commitment to serving the community. It was a gesture of forgiveness, a silent acknowledgement of Eleanor's past mistakes, and an invitation to embrace the community she had previously rejected. As Eleanor drove home, the weight of her pride and prejudice began to lift. The shame she had carried for days began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of gratitude and humility. The church community's response had been a profound revelation, a powerful demonstration of the transformative power of compassion. The food bags in her car were more than just groceries. They were a symbol of hope, a testament to the unexpected kindness of a community that had chosen forgiveness over retribution. The journey toward reconciliation had taken an unexpected turn, guided by the unwavering compassion of those she had so readily judged. The food from the Abundant Life Church provided more than just sustenance. It nourished Eleanor Vance's soul. The initial relief of having enough food for her family was quickly followed by a deeper transformation, a gradual shift in her perspective that challenged her long-held prejudices and forced her to confront her own flawed judgment. The following days were a revelation. Eleanor, driven by a newfound sense of gratitude and a growing desire to understand the community she had so readily condemned, began to observe the church more closely. She started noticing the small acts of kindness, the quiet gestures of compassion, the unwavering dedication of the members. She witnessed the genuine love and care that permeated every aspect of their lives. She saw the elderly members helping each other, their hands offering support and companionship. She observed the young people volunteering their time, their energy fueled by a deep-seated commitment to serving others. She witnessed the unwavering faith of the congregation, their belief in the power of community and the importance of helping those in need. She began to see the church not as a source of noise and disruption, but as a vibrant hub of activity, a place where people came together to support each other, to share their faith, and to make a positive impact on the community. The energy that had once grated on her nerves now felt warm and inviting, a testament to the power of human connection and shared purpose. One afternoon, while walking her dog near the church, Eleanor witnessed a group of volunteers preparing for a community cleanup. They were picking up litter, weeding flower beds, and painting benches, their actions a silent testament to their commitment to improving their neighborhood. She joined them, her initial hesitation quickly dissolving into a sense of purpose and belonging. The shared effort, the camaraderie, the sense of collective responsibility. It was a profound experience, a stark contrast to her previous perception of the church as a disruptive force. Another day, she saw Pastor Johnson visiting an elderly woman who lived alone, offering her companionship and assistance. The simple act of kindness, the genuine concern in his eyes, touched Eleanor deeply. It was a powerful reminder of the human connection that lay at the heart of the church community, a connection she had previously failed to recognize. As she spent more time with the church members, Eleanor began to question her own actions and beliefs. She realized the shallowness of her judgment, the superficiality of her assumptions. She had allowed her prejudices to cloud her perception, blinding her to the genuine goodness and compassion of the people she had so readily condemned. The more she learned about the church, the more she questioned her own worldview. She began to see the value of community, the importance of shared purpose, and the transformative power of faith. She realized that her carefully constructed world, her obsession with order and control, had blinded her to the beauty and vibrancy of life beyond her own narrow perspective. The change wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was a gradual shift, a slow awakening to the realities of a world she had previously ignored. The seeds of prejudice that had taken root in her heart were slowly being replaced by seeds of understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. Her journey of transformation had just begun. The initial act of providing food was just the beginning of the Abundant Life Church's outreach to Eleanor Vance. The community's support extended far beyond mere sustenance, encompassing emotional and practical assistance that touched every aspect of her life. It was a holistic approach, a testament to the church's commitment to nurturing the well-being of its members and neighbors. Pastor Johnson, recognizing Eleanor's emotional distress, offered her regular counseling sessions. He listened patiently as she recounted her struggles, her anxieties, and her regrets. He offered words of encouragement, guidance, and spiritual support, helping her navigate the emotional turmoil she was experiencing. His empathy and understanding were a balm to her wounded spirit, helping her heal from the shame and self-recrimination she had carried for so long. Sister Mary, ever the practical and compassionate soul, offered Eleanor assistance with household chores. She helped with cleaning, laundry, and other tasks that had been neglected during the family's crisis. Her presence was a comforting influence, a reminder that Eleanor wasn't alone in her struggles. The simple act of sharing the burden eased Eleanor's anxieties, allowing her to focus on her family and her recovery. Other church members offered practical support in various ways. Some helped with childcare, providing respite for Eleanor and Richard, allowing them to rest and recover. Others offered financial assistance, discreetly providing funds to help the family get back on their feet. The support was offered without judgment, without expectation, simply as an expression of community solidarity and Christian love. Young volunteers from the church offered to tutor Eleanor's children, helping them catch up on schoolwork and providing emotional support. The children, initially hesitant, warmed up to the kind and patient tutors, their spirits lifted by the attention and encouragement. The tutoring sessions became more than just academic support. They were opportunities for connection and healing, a chance for the children to regain their sense of normalcy and security. Eleanor also found support within the church's women's group. The women shared their own stories of struggle and resilience, offering Eleanor a sense of belonging and understanding. They listened patiently as she shared her experiences, offering words of encouragement and practical advice. The group became a source of strength and inspiration, a safe space where Eleanor could express her feelings without judgment. The community's support went beyond the practical and emotional. It extended to the spiritual realm, providing Eleanor with a sense of peace and hope. She found solace in the church's services, the uplifting music, and the inspiring sermons. Her faith, once dormant, was rekindled, providing her with a renewed sense of purpose and direction. The outpouring of support from the Abundant Life Church was transformative. It wasn't just about providing food and shelter. It was about restoring Eleanor's sense of dignity, her self-worth, and her connection to the community. It was a testament to the power of compassion, the strength of human connection, and the transformative potential of forgiveness. The church's actions had not only helped Eleanor's family survive a crisis, but it also helped her heal from the wounds of prejudice and self-doubt. The journey towards reconciliation was far from over, but the path forward was now illuminated by the warmth and unwavering support of the community she had once condemned. The weight of her past actions pressed heavily on Eleanor Vance. The kindness and compassion she had received from the Abundant Life Church had chipped away at her pride, exposing the deep-seated prejudices that had fueled her complaint. She had been wrong, profoundly wrong, and the realization filled her with a deep sense of remorse. She knew she needed to make amends, to publicly acknowledge her mistakes and express her gratitude for the unexpected grace she had been shown. The opportunity arose during the church's annual Thanksgiving service. The church hall was filled with the familiar warmth and energy, the air alive with the spirit of gratitude and community. As Pastor Johnson delivered his sermon, focusing on the themes of forgiveness and reconciliation, Eleanor felt a surge of emotion. She knew this was the moment to make things right. After the service, as the congregation gathered for fellowship and refreshments, Eleanor approached Pastor Johnson. Her heart pounded in her chest, her hands trembled slightly. She explained her intentions, her voice choked with emotion. She wanted to apologize, not just to the pastor, but to the entire congregation. She wanted to express her gratitude for their kindness, their compassion, and their unwavering support. Pastor Johnson listened patiently, his expression one of understanding and empathy. He reassured her that the congregation was ready to hear her, that they were willing to forgive and move forward. He offered her a warm smile, a gesture of acceptance that eased her anxiety. He then announced to the congregation that Eleanor wished to address them. A hush fell over the room as Eleanor stepped forward. All eyes were on her, a mixture of curiosity and anticipation in their gaze. She began to speak, her voice trembling at first, but gradually gaining strength. She confessed her past actions, acknowledging the injustice of her complaint and the prejudice that had fueled her judgment. She spoke of her initial annoyance with the noise, her discomfort with the church's presence in her neighborhood, and the underlying biases that had shaped her perception. She spoke of her ignorance, her arrogance, and her failure to recognize the genuine kindness and compassion of the church community. She described the shame and humiliation she had felt during her family's financial crisis, the agonizing struggle to overcome her pride and ask for help. She recounted the unexpected kindness she had received, the overwhelming support that had transformed her perspective. Her words were raw, honest, and filled with genuine remorse. She didn't try to justify her actions. She simply acknowledged her mistakes and expressed her deep regret. She spoke of the transformative power of forgiveness, the unexpected grace she had been shown, and the profound impact it had had on her life. As she spoke, a wave of emotion washed over the congregation. There were tears, nods of understanding, and expressions of acceptance. The initial shock and disappointment were replaced by a sense of forgiveness and reconciliation. The congregation had already shown their capacity for compassion. Now, they were witnessing Eleanor's own journey of transformation. Eleanor concluded her apology by expressing her profound gratitude for the church's kindness. She thanked them for their unwavering support, their willingness to forgive, and their commitment to serving the community. She acknowledged the irony of her situation, the fact that she, the woman who had complained about the noise, was now deeply grateful for the very community she had tried to silence. The response from the congregation was overwhelming. There were hugs, handshakes, and words of encouragement. People shared their own stories of hardship and resilience, creating a powerful sense of shared experience and mutual understanding. The atmosphere was one of forgiveness, reconciliation, and renewed hope. Eleanor's apology had not only healed the rift between her and the church community, but had also strengthened the bonds of compassion and understanding that defined the Abundant Life Church. The journey towards a new beginning had begun. The transformation in Eleanor Vance was profound and lasting. The experience of receiving unexpected kindness from the Abundant Life Church had not only resolved her family's immediate crisis, but had also sparked a deeper transformation within her. Her newfound understanding and empathy led her to embrace a new role within the community, one that actively sought to repair the damage caused by her past prejudices and to advocate for social justice. Eleanor's first step towards a new beginning was to become an active participant in the church's annual food drive. She volunteered her time, working alongside the other members, her hands moving with a practiced efficiency that belied her past indifference. She helped sort food, pack bags, and distribute groceries, her actions a testament to her commitment to making amends. She no longer saw the food drive as a source of noise and disruption. She saw it as a vital lifeline for many families in need. The vibrant energy that had once annoyed her now filled her with a sense of purpose and belonging. She found a deep satisfaction in helping others, in contributing to a cause that was bigger than herself. Her newfound empathy extended beyond the food drive. She became involved in other church outreach programs, volunteering her time and skills to support various community initiatives. She used her legal expertise to assist those in need of legal aid, providing pro bono services to families struggling with housing issues, debt, and other challenges. Eleanor's commitment to social justice went beyond her involvement in the church. She became an advocate for affordable housing in her neighborhood, working with local organizations to address the housing crisis affecting many low-income families. She used her voice to speak out against inequalities, challenging systemic biases and advocating for policies that promoted fairness and opportunity for all. Her transformation didn't go unnoticed. The church community embraced her wholeheartedly, recognizing the sincerity of her remorse and the depth of her commitment to making amends. She was no longer viewed as the woman who had filed the complaint. She was seen as a valuable member of the community, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the transformative potential of human connection. Eleanor used her newfound platform to speak out against prejudice and discrimination. She shared her story with others, encouraging them to confront their own biases and to embrace the values of compassion and understanding. She became a powerful voice for social justice, using her experiences to inspire others to take action against inequality. Her transformation wasn't just personal, it was a catalyst for change within her community. Her story became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the transformative potential of human connection. The once strained relationship between Eleanor and the Abundant Life Church had been transformed into a powerful partnership, a collaboration that served as a beacon of hope and inspiration for the entire community. Eleanor's journey was a reminder that even the deepest prejudices can be overcome, that even the most damaging actions can be repaired, and that the path to reconciliation can lead to a new beginning filled with purpose, compassion, and unwavering commitment to social justice. Her life became a testament to the power of second chances, a beacon of hope for a community transformed by forgiveness.